So have you ever heard the phrase metanarrative? That's a pretty big word. And in order to teach this word to my students, one of the things that I would do is that I would make a copy of the first page of a book, a copy of a page in the middle of the book, and a copy of a page at the end of the book. If the group was large enough, I might make a few more copies of pages throughout. And then I would hand them out and divide them into groups and invite each group to discuss the page that they read. And then I would invite them back into the group and ask them questions. So, what is this book about? And they laughed at me and they said, we can't tell you what the book's about. We only have one page. I'm like, okay, why don't you discuss with each other and tell each other what your different pages were about? And so they would, and then I would ask them, well, what's the book about? And this time they were really frustrated with me. We can't tell you that because we only have a few pages from the book. I said, okay, so is it fiction or nonfiction? And some called out fiction, some said nonfiction. I'm like, you can't even agree if it's a true story or not. And they said, we don't have enough information. We only have parts of the book. Before my students totally got angry with me, I would say, okay, so why do we do this to the Bible? Why do we give people a page here or a piece there and expect them to know the whole text? And that made them pause. I said, the Bible has a meta-narrative. Now, the definition of a meta-narrative, to be meta, means that it's bigger and beyond the human scope. And we know that a narrative can be something that is fiction, and it can be nonfiction. It can be true, or it can be myth. But the Bible, it's a big story that is based on truth. It's based on truth that is historical, it is oral, it is based on eyewitness accounts, and even eyewitness accounts from historians that don't necessarily even follow the belief system of what the Bible teaches. But one thing is consistent about it. It is a consistent story that is telling the story of Jesus. And that if we take the time to know the big picture, the meta-narrative, then we begin to understand the many narratives of one individual story in the book. And then what we will discover as we do that, it helps us to understand our story. Because as we read the Bible, it enables us to understand our identity personally, but not just our own personal identity, but our identity in community. Who am I with you? And not just who am I and who am I with you, but who am I in community? And what does that look like for God's community, the kingdom? And if we take the time to know the meta-narrative and understand the many narratives, our personal story suddenly takes on a profound understanding and value. It is so important for us to be in the Word, to be with Jesus, so that we can be transformed. Shalom, y'all.